necessarily those of the Emily Pearl Show, its sister stations, its affiliates, or its sponsors, but it is those of the individuals themselves who express it. While the Emily Pearl Show does take stances on individual issues, the show itself remains an entertainment platform. Free thought is a philosophy and not a policy. The opinions expressed on this program
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the Emily Pearl Show live from Memphis, Tennessee, where we talk about anything that we want to talk about. All right. Let's get this show started. We've got a special guest with us tonight, as you may have seen in our poster earlier when we were sharing all across our platforms. Oh, and that just reminds me, as soon as I get everybody into the studio, I've got to share the show to Twitter. All right, so coming in, the co-hostess of the most, SYBIL Marie Presley, and the heartbeat of the South, and my every heartbeat, Tim Harrington.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
And CATHY CC Carson. Hi, you guys.
Hi.
Hey.
How you doing tonight?
Fabulous.
All right, that's great. Okay, let me get on here. I'm gonna share this Twitter. I have it. I posted it. Posts it schedules on Twitter, but I always like to just go ahead and do an extra. What did I'm missing something. I'm looking at a lipstick top, and I don't know where it goes to. I think I do.
That's women. We deal with that. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, where does this go to? I think I found it. Okay, so I got the Twitter button on now. All right, so CATHY, I'm coming straight to you so that I can go ahead and complete sharing and get our guests straight into the studio straight away, okay? CATHY, we got a special guest tonight. Come on, tell us who that is so that I can bring our guests into the studio.
Well, Rand Ballard is the kind of talent that has so many talents, you don't even know about him until you find out further. Mm-hmm. So he is an amazing writer, engineer, producer, musician. And he's worked with Michael Jackson, the Jackson 5. He's worked with George Clinton. He's worked with Lionel Richie. And now we even find out his dad was in the film business and worked with Elvis Presley. So, I mean, there's so much to talk about that this is exciting. So let's go for it.
All right, coming in. And what is his name?
Rand Ballard. Rand, R-A-N.
Right. Let's hear it up for Rand.
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
Hey, Emily, SYBIL, Tim,
Hey.
Hey.
Hello, Rand. Thank you so much for coming to join us tonight. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you so much for having me on. Thank you.
Anytime. Yeah. That's what we do. We open our doors. We have a big old welcome sign. And we've been doing this for 10 years now. So
wow, that's great. Congratulations.
Yeah, we're still going strong, growing. And so CATHY, I'll let you begin the interview while we go ahead and share. Don't forget, team, come on, take this moment and share. I'm gonna get all of your messengers, all your friends, and Rand, please do share to your did you send him the share link? It's Facebook.com, the Emily Pearl Show.
I will, for sure.
Yes. Okay.
I will absolutely share it.
You can share it now. They can watch it live.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. CATHY, you can send them the link during our commercial break, okay?
I will, yeah. We will do that. Okay, well, Rand, now, did you grow up in Los Angeles?
Actually, born in Hollywood, and we started, I mean, we were in LA. Our family started in Los Angeles in like 1930 when my grandfather, who was a train engineer, was hired to do a Western out here in Hollywood as the engineer, actually driving the train. And he liked it and everyone on the set so much that he joined the union and worked for Warner Brothers for years. So he did everything like the Wizard of Oz films, stuff, you know, a lot of stuff like that. Then, you know, my dad was in the business as well, and he worked a lot of the early TV shows like Batman, the Green Hornet, the Monkeys. That's how, you know, we know a Plastic EP, right?
Right.
We talked about the Monkeys.
Hmm.
And all those early shows, including the movies like the Matt Helm movies with Dean Martin, you know, stuff like that. So I kind of grew up in the Hollywood. We actually moved out to this suburb, Thousand Oaks, and I grew up there, and it was pretty much like Mayberry RFD. It was great, you know. It was kind of the country and so forth. But we were right there next to Hollywood, and as just before my about 14th birthday, my dad decided he didn't want to work television and film anymore, and we moved to Las Vegas and he was building sets for the Las Vegas shows. One of the first things that he built and he maintained was working for Elvis over at the International Hotel. And they used to have a thing called the Dancing Waters. And he was the one who maintained and put that all together. And it was actually this water show that was behind Elvis during all his songs. And apparently he loved it a lot. It was played with a keyboard. So you played this keyboard, which shot up the different streams and different colors. And, you know, so I was able to go backstage and see Elvis before he went on stage. You know, this is in the later years, probably 1972, right? So a lot of International Hotel stuff. And then from there, he got me. Even though I was a musician, I started playing when I was 8 years old. You guys stop me when you get bored. I started playing when I was 8 years old, guitar, because we all saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. So, you know, I bugged my dad for a guitar, and then after that, a piano and a drum set. I wanted to play everything. So all this time I'm playing music and I'm in local bands, you know, playing cover songs, Eric Clapton songs, and all this other stuff. And my dad said at 17, he said, you know, they were opening a show in Las Vegas called Hallelujah Hollywood. And it was the biggest stage show at the time ever, right? And my dad was building the scenery for it. So he noticed that I was more interested in music than actually going to school. So he decided to put me in the union. He lied about my age because it was such a big show, they needed everyone they could get in the union. You know, lucky for me. 1973, I'm 17 years old. They put me into this show, and I start working this biggest girl nudie dancing extravaganza where I worked with the weirdest thing is I worked with Siegfried and Roy. I was in props. So I mean, we did all the prop stuff, handing girls stabs and all that. But I worked with Siegfried and Roy, which they're pretty famous. You know, they're dead now. They just recently died. But I loaded all the lions and the tigers, the panthers,
Oh
and
my God.
helped them with their tricks, right? And I was like, you know, they would throw things through the curtain. I'd have to catch them at a certain time. And I ended up even writing some music for their thing because they found out I had a Mini Moog synthesizer in my keyboards early on. So they had me do some music for the show. And, but it was kind of a weird, exciting life to be working this weird, you know, stage show with Siegfried and Roy and, you know, in Vegas with everybody. The next place was, you know, the room that was attached to us, the celebrity room had Dean Martin there. So my dad knew him and went over and worked with him because he had worked on the Matt Helm films. And everyone worked at the celebrity room. I mean, millions, Helen Reddy to Mac Davis and people like that. Then, as I was getting into about a year and a half working the show, which was really great because I was making great money and playing music still and buying tons of keyboards. And I got a call to be in this band that was signing to Capitol Records with some friends that I used to play at a band. So my thought was, well, could I stay in this very well paid job that only works 4 hours a night and keep loading lions and tigers and doing that, or should I do what I was supposed to do? And my dad was the first one to say, "You're young, go, man. You got your union card. You can always work there. Go sign with the band." So I signed with this band. Actually, I went out to work with this band. We had a great studio at the crossroads of the world where the Jackson Five had their offices, Loggins and Messina, people like that, and crossroads of the world. And we did one of those Monday nights at the Troubadour, and was seen by a bunch of people. And Jimmy Webb saw us there and he wanted to work with us to get our first album. And we signed to Capitol, and it got weird, right? With Jimmy, I guess the rest of the guys didn't like Jimmy, even though I'm sure you all know who Jimmy Webb is, like the really most brilliant producer, songwriter of the time, right? Which I didn't understand. And when we huh?
No, I
No,
was
keep
laughing.
Yeah.
I was
Between that-
laughing. You said, which I didn't understand. Because you were
I was
young.
like, no, well, I'm like Jimmy Webb. We were at his studio in Beverly Hills, and I was driving on the car he bought from Clockwork Orange. I'm like, here we are. I'm like 19. This is it, signing to Capitol. And then everyone started having problems, and we did the infighting. And just as we got Ken Scott, who was an engineer with the Beatles and all that, and Supertramp was going to be our engineer, the infighting, we recorded part of the record, and the infighting got so bad that the cocky 19-year-old Rand said, "I don't need this," and left the band. Because I just thought at the time it would be a better move to move on to some other music, not knowing that it would take me another 10 years to move on from there. But during that period of time, how I worked was I was working all the television shows. I worked on Welcome Back, Kotter, The Gong Show, things like General Hospital. I did the Jackson Show, which was funny because I worked with them later in life. Donnie and Marie. So it was
That's a lot of shows. And
it
what
was
were you?
well, you know what? When you work shows, you'd work. I wasn't the permanent guy. I was a lighting guy. So basically,
Okay.
I'd work a week when someone took a week off Donnie Marie.
Yeah.
Another 3 days of Dinah Shore. Then I
Right.
would do all these. So I got to work at the Cher Show.
Yeah.
All these really different things. And funny because working with the Jacksons at the time, being a progressive rocker guy, I was into like bands like Yes and Genesis. I'm working with the Jacksons, and it's like I met Tito, and we kind of thought they were funny, because they were the little kid pop guys. And then Donnie Marie came to the set. Marie was like 11 years old with like braces on. So there were these little kids were doing their shows and ice skating in the ice with them and all that stuff. And it allowed me to continue music in Hollywood. But then I decided the easy life was too easy. And I moved back to Las Vegas for a few years, which then allowed me, I started working shows. So instead of working, a lot of the same show, I moved around there. And I worked over at Caesar's Palace, and I got to work with Frank Sinatra, Cher again, which knew me from her television show, Willie Nelson, a lot of to me, the biggest one was Frank Sinatra, because every night I was the mic guy. So I would hand Frank his microphone every night before he would go on stage and take it from me, and then page the cable for Frank. So, here I am hanging with Frank Sinatra with the Doberman Pinscher, security guards. And every night Frank, I had hair down to here, and Frank would say, "Hey kid, get a haircut."
Mm-hmm.
And so the next time I'd be there, right, and he'd go, "Hey kid, what the heck? I told you, get a haircut." I go, "Were you serious about that?" Right? So we kind of had this banter going where everyone was frightened of Frank for some reason. I could never figure that out. But he, I was friendly with him, and at the same time, later on, I worked over at the Tropicana, and Liberace was the show for the main, the girls, the Dancing Follies Bergère show, and so forth.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
I was working with Liberace every night. And I've been playing keyboards for quite a few years, but I was self-taught. And we used to have a grand piano backstage, and I used to go in early and play the grand piano. And one day,
Alrighty.
as an Liberace walks in while I was playing and walks up behind me and says
Mm-hmm.
to me, he says, "Man, you play really fast. I mean, you play really." I said, "Well, I'm in this progressive rock, and our whole thing is to like play faster than the other guy, and all that stuff." And he said, "Man, he goes, you're really good. I didn't realize,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he turned me on to a piano teacher and said, he's only going to teach you what you need to know. And I went to this piano teacher, and he said, "Play for me." Because I said, "How do you want to play?" I said, "I want to play like you and Liberace, man, like the greats." And I played
Uh-huh.
for him, and he said, "You have an unusual style. Just play the way that you play,
Yeah.
and I'm going to teach you what you're doing because you're already doing it. I don't know
All
why
right.
or how." So that's sort of inspired me as a keyboard player
We
to
call
move
that
on.
playing by ear.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And he said, "Just keep doing that," and taught me all the scales and the chord progressions and all that other stuff. Um,
Yeah.
and then later on, do you guys want to talk for a minute, or I'm just trying
No,
to
no,
get through
keep
the
going.
old
This
crap
is too
Oh
interesting.
no,
with both
we're
of you quickly.
we're enjoying every bit of this.
Yeah, go
Okay,
ahead.
so they're the hosts. I'm just the guest, you guys. So
No, you're the star.
basically,
You're the
yeah,
guest
there we
with the
go.
mostest. Go ahead.
There we go. So basically, then working in Vegas and doing those shows. The very interesting thing is, have you guys ever seen the film Goodfellas?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
kind of have.
Right,
I kind of
yeah.
the
forgotten it
From
though.
Goodfellas. Okay.
Boston, right? From Boston?
Well,
Is that
no.
the
Goodfellas was in Vegas. It was
Oh, it
Yeah.
was in Vegas.
Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci, and they were the
Oh,
gangsters
okay.
that ran.
I kind of
And
forgotten it. Yeah, it's been a long
well,
time ago, right?
De Niro. I was working in Vegas at the time, and De Niro's character was Frank Rosenthal, which ran
Right.
a couple of casinos for the mob and all that other
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And during the film, he does this thing where he goes against, the casino gaming people and the governors, and he goes to court and he puts on a TV show, which the mob doesn't want him to do, but he puts on a TV show because he uses it as his voice against the Las Vegas casino people and all that other stuff who are trying to bust him and get him out of the casino business. I worked on that TV show. Okay,
Did
so
you?
it's
Okay.
weird watching Casino, right? Because I
Yeah.
used to be the guy who put up the mic in front of Frank and for the band, and Frankie Avalon would come on, and we used to do the show at 2:30 in the morning
Yeah, yeah.
because that's when all our shows got out. All
Mm-hmm.
the dance shows and the other shows. So that
Mm-hmm.
would get all the guests to come over. I mean, Vegas, like you would go eat at the Towers, which was in there too, at 4 in the morning, and everyone's hanging out. Right, that's how Vegas was in those days. So it's
Yeah.
funny. I got to do some wild Vegas stuff, and work with the mobs. Which then actually I worked on the television show Vegas. Did you ever
Mm-hmm.
see that with Robert Urich? It was in the 70s, Vegas, and Tony.
Yeah, that was the
Probably.
name of the show.
Yeah, and it was
It
with
sounds
Tony
familiar.
Curtis. It had Robert Urich. It had Tony Curtis on it, and a bunch of guest stars. Like I worked with a ton of people, and
Yeah.
Tony Curtis as well, right?
I
So I was
remember
doing the
Tony
TV
Curtis.
shows. Well, yeah, Tony
Uh-huh.
was a wild dude. Uh,
With
Shelley
the curly
Shelley
hair,
Winters.
yeah.
I worked
He
with
had the
Shelley Winters, people like
prettiest
that.
curly hair.
Yeah,
Shelly,
I remember him, blue eyes too.
You say Shelly Winters?
Yeah, she was one of the guests on the show. We had a lot of
Yeah.
guests on the show. Greg
Now,
Morris from
that's
you know,
Shelley Winters also played in this movie. I think that was her that played in the one about the boat sinking, but not the Titanic. It wasn't the Titanic movie.
well, no,
Boat.
it was no, but it was the big. It was I know the boat movie.
You know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah.
I know that there is a big. It was the big every All Star boat movie, but she was
Yeah.
also in a lot of like
Yeah.
classic movies. She was
Yeah.
3 Academy Awards.
She
Type
was a
of
great
actress.
actress. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she was older, but it's funny because I was on camera. I was the lighting guy for the face, so I got to
Mm-hmm.
talk with these people and do that stuff a lot. And
Okay.
so I meandered there, made some more money, and decided, what I used to do is kind of gather money up from this television and these film things, and then I would take months off to do my music, right? So I worked for about another year doing that stuff. Really interesting gigs. Like the
Mm-hmm.
Vegas show was interesting,
Mm-hmm.
on the Vegas Strip. But then, I decided to move to Laguna Beach, write some music, and get a band together because it was getting in its later 80s, early 80s, and I wanted to put a band together. And that was this band that I have now, Start. So what it's the band that I have now that I put back together after 30 years. But I was living in Laguna
Mm-hmm.
Beach. And one of the coolest things I did while I was down there, and then I'll get to the band, as I was writing for the band and so forth, I had a friend who was a promoter down there for these different shows and these movie theater showcases, pretty big shows, and he had booked Chuck Berry to play. So he
Mm-hmm.
asked me if I would put a band together and be the keyboard player for Chuck. Because if anyone knows how Chuck traveled and played through the 80s, 90s, and whatever, was he brought his own bass player who knew all of his songs, and he then would hire a band, a local band, to play,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the shows. So we had 2 shows. It was a 2-show night. I was booked to do this show, and I put a band together. And all they told me was basically have an extra drummer because he's really rough on the drummers. If the drummers don't do what he wants, which is every time he turns at them and waves his guitar, they need to stop. Da da
Yeah.
da da
Yeah.
da da
Yeah.
da da. Right, and you
Yeah.
had to watch him constantly.
He
Right,
wanted
and
precision.
he
He
wanted
wanted.
precision in him.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
but he had the bass player who,
It
so
was
he
like
didn't even
James
know.
Brown. James Brown was the same way.
Oh
With,
yeah,
with
exactly,
mm-hmm.
exactly. I saw James Brown in Japan while I was out there with Michael Jackson live.
Yeah.
We So we were playing with. I brought an extra drummer because he was known to fire those guys, and basically we did the shows. And after the first show, he's doing the test of the drummer, and the guy's sweating bullets, but the
Yeah.
show went well, right? So the second we get between shows, Chuck comes to me, he goes, "Get rid of that drummer, man." He goes, "You guys are great." He goes, "But that guy's got to go. That guy's got." I go, "So I go. I got another guy. I got another guy." So the
Okay.
second guy came in. We played. We got to hang with Chuck in between. It was really great because one, okay, there are these theaters and everyone's standing out front of the theater waiting to get in and stuff. And we go into the back doors and there's a little a Winnebago, like a dressing room for him and us back there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm
Mm-hmm.
waiting out front, and I just happen to go up to the ticket booth. And here comes this pink Cadillac with the top down, looked like about a 69 Caddy. It still had the fins, right? And it
Mm-hmm.
pulls in front in the red zone, parks, and it's Chuck Berry with this girl, like a girlfriend for that evening. And it's Chuck. They pull up in the Cadillac. He gets out, pulls his guitar out of the back, and walks through the front, right? People are going nuts and everything. And
Yeah.
so I walk in with him as we're walking in, and I'm like, "Hi, I'm Ran. I'm the keyboard player," and so forth. And I said, "Well, Chuck, man, why didn't you just, park in the back where, you could get ready to get on the show?" He goes, "Chuck Berry doesn't walk into any back doors.
Uh-oh.
I walk in the,
Uh-huh.
I,
Uh-huh.
I walk in the front door."
Uh-huh.
And I said, okay, I got it, man. This is the man. He is definitely the man. It was the most amazing show, right? It's like, you know, this guy, he was like, you know, he was the guy, right? And, but basically, and he did the duck walk, he did all that stuff. And after we played those shows, he had 2 other theaters booked. And Chuck said, hey, no, I like these boys. I want them to play the rest of the shows with me. So
All
we got to play
right.
like six shows with Chuck. And it was great because later on I was working with Eric Clapton.
Uh-huh.
And you know, it's hard to impress people like this, no matter what you've done in life.
That's true. That's true.
So I'm with Jenna and we're having lunch talking. And I said, well, listen, man, how many times have you actually played with Chuck Berry? He goes, one I can remember, but you know, I had that thing for a while. So maybe 2, but 2 at the most. I said, I did 6 shows with him, man. He goes, yeah. I told him the story and he was like, that's impressive. That's more than I've ever played with him.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a good experience to play play all the hits. And the way you played them too is crazy because Chuck, you didn't rehearse. He didn't look at you. He would start a riff. Da-na-na-na-na. His bass player knew which song it was.
Yeah.
And he would look at the band and he would go like, E, right?
That's right. They had hand signals.
But
like in baseball.
C. That's all the bass player would go, right? You go, okay, man, you know, and it's going to be 1, 4, 5, maybe a 2 in the middle, right? But you know what songs it could be. And it's I got a great picture I sent Kathy and stuff. I was taken in the newspaper doing one of my solos, you know, which is just banging. He loved it. The more you banged and just did
the
stuff,
more they
he
like
loved
it.
So, you know, he was, you know, giving me my props, and it was a pretty fun experience. But that's where I wrote the music and so forth for my band, Start, which is, you know, the band that I still write albums for now. I do lead vocals and keyboards and do all the writing.
And what's the name of your band?
Start. S-T-A-R-T.
Okay.
Like
that's new to me. S-T-A-R-T. And what kind of music is it?
It is progressive rock.
Okay.
It is sort of like, have you ever heard Genesis with Phil Collins and Peter Gabriel?
Yeah.
Yes, it's a combination of those type of bands.
Okay.
So that's why we won't cover that too much on your show, because I know it's a particular type of thing. But it's you know, it's a progressive type of band, and you know, I write a lot about believing in yourself and trying to help the world. You know, trying to make it a better place, just like we're all trying to do, even though you know, we're working harder every day to do that. So
so we're gonna take a break and come back, and when we come back, hey audience, I want y'all to ask some questions. Panel, team members, I want y'all to ask some questions. So y'all go ahead and share the show some more, okay? Don't go away, and we will be back. All right. All right.
What am I gonna get? Ooh, cherries. Oh, okay. How about cherry ice cream? With sprinkles? And maybe a baguette, and a French boy.
Bonjour.
Ooh la la, baby. You know what I need? Bath bombs. Bombs away! Gotta have Takis. Oh, I need balls. Okay, I'm gonna need some glue. Oh, and a new charger. I can never find those things. And I gotta get flowers for mommy. And a little something for me. Can I get a robe?
All right, thank y'all for sticking and staying with us. All right, don't forget, you don't have to worry about finding out where those sponsors are. It's all on the one link that's running across the bottom at the ticker tape. It's wlo.link/ at Emily Pearls. wlo.link/ at Emily Pearls. And don't forget to check out our movie, rated PG by the Film Commission and everything. So it's a clean movie. It's a family movie, so you guys can check it out, okay? It's playing on Roku TV, and you go through Roku, you can see it on Tubi, Plex, Apple TV, might be on Google TV, because you know what? I forgot Google had TV. Google got television too. And it's also available internationally on some other channels. I think one is called Watch List or something like that. Anyway, what you can do, the easiest way to do it is to Google M Pearls, AAL, the movie, and then it will show you everywhere that you can watch it. And that's for our international friends and fans as well. There is a streaming platform near you somewhere that's showing our movie, okay? I'm going to bring in our guests and the rest of the team back in, and I'm going to check the chat questions first, see what type of questions, if any, that we have from our audience. And then we will go and see if our team members have any, okay? All right, so let's see. Okay, Sybil. So you jumped ahead of the audience, did you? Okay, I gotta make sure. So Sybil says, "Are you Sybil? You can ask your own questions. Go ahead."
Oh, I know. I didn't want. I was trying to urge people.
You want to share with the audience? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know it's Friday night. You know how they do cooking while they listening to the show and getting the kids ready for bed and doing other stuff. They just got in from work. You know, they always come back and put the comments in later.
Yeah,
sometimes
they
anyway.
will. But it's a very extremely interesting life that you've led. So, how did you and Kathy
Oh,
meet?
thanks. We met on the Plastic EP show.
Oh, okay.
Right, Kathy?
Right.
Yeah, we met doing some interviews. Actually, we were talking about, I think the first one was about the Monkees, right? Because my dad worked on the show and brought me on the set and
The group.
all that stuff. So,
Yeah, the group. That's the band,
Monkees,
the
yeah.
Monkey. I remember them.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
worked
I
on that.
remember the
He worked on
Monkees.
that TV show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
worked that
they have
TV
their own
show.
TV show, The Monkees.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
pretty
the
nutty.
Beatles had a show too, but I don't think the Beatles show lasted as long as the Monkees show.
Beatles was a cartoon show where the Monkees was
Yeah,
live
that wasn't
action,
real live
real
Beatles.
people. Yeah.
No, I know it was.
My dad did the Monsters and the Beatles and all those shows.
The Monsters. I
and
love the Monsters.
Oh yeah, well you
I
know
still
what?
watch them.
All the flame coming out of the dragon's mouth and all the spider webs. That's my dad. That was my dad. It was special effects, like my grandfather. So
other things.
and we haven't even
with the hair.
We haven't gone to it. Well, remember the door used to open and
Yeah.
the dragon would come out and breathe fire. All that. You know,
Oh,
my
the
dad was special
dragon.
effects.
Yeah. Okay, the dragon.
And it did all the
yeah.
spider webs, kept the spider webs going. And his favorite one was the Wild Wild West because they had all the kooky things with the Wild Wild West.
Creepy things. Yeah.
So,
okay.
we did that. And, we haven't got to the interesting part yet. That's just the childhood. So, basically, what happened after that was I did my band in 1984, put it together finally, said we're going to make a run at the records, record companies. I paid for everything. I put the studio together. I put the musicians together and basically recorded an album and said, I'm going to take it to the labels and show them that, we're worthwhile to be signed. Okay. And this is 1985 now. Okay. And we went on college radio. So basically I paid for promotion on college radio and we got onto the top 100 the top 10 of over 150 stations.
What was the commercial about?
No, it was my album. My album was out there.
Oh, your album. Okay.
Yeah, he was promoting his album.
Yeah, my album.
Okay. He promoted it to college radio.
Oh, but back then, you used to call on a telephone and go, hi, listen, I'm Rand from the band. Do you think you could, So we basically did this college radio, and I thought it would be a great idea. And I went to the record companies, and they all hated my guts.
Oh, my.
Because, no, seriously, I had one day, I'm not going to mention any names, just say to me, who the do you think you are? Okay? We make records.
What was that? Why'd they get so mad about it?
Because I had put this record out. I was out on college radio. And at that point, they were requesting records to buy. So I was selling records. I was sending them to the one-stops, and they were selling. So like the guys who were selling, they're like, you're selling your record. What do you need us for? I said, well, no, it's not the point. I mean, I'm building a fan base, which back then, who knew what that was? There was no internet.
They wanted to do it. They wanted the control of everything.
In other words, too, they even wanted to say, hey, wait, well, we would make some different choices on your record. And it was just a big argument. And I was just, my only son was being born at the time. And honestly, it was such a risk.
You almost sound like Daisy Jones and the Six.
Oh, do I? Okay.
The guy. You haven't seen that yet, the story about the band?
I worked with Steve Nicks, but yeah. But what happened was my son was being born, and I thought it was being, and I got to get some serious done. Now, with what I had done through the past, because of progressive music, I've had synthesizers since 1972. So I bought tons of synths and had all the most modern technology. And with my band started in 85, I was the first one to use samples and sequencing, it's all sunk together with MIDI live. So I was doing that with our shows live. When I decided to let the band go on hiatus, I got a job with the studios. I didn't want to be a session musician because I think you get caught into a stigma as a session musician. So basically, because of all the knowledge I had on syncing, on programming, on sampling, I became a programmer. So I started getting jobs right away doing albums. The very first guy I got a major job with, where I worked his studio every day, was Burt Bacharach. I'm sure everybody knows who
Wow.
Burt Bacharach is.
Oh, well,
So
yeah, I do.
Burt, Burt needed a guy in the studio because everybody wanted the sampled sounds and the synthesizer sounds, but nobody really knew how to put it all together. So one of my
Right.
first gigs was, other than doing some sessions, I met Burt in the studio doing, I forget what song, and then a movie. And then he said, look, I need you to come to my studio every day. I'm writing a bunch of music to try to get it out there, for some new albums. And so I went in and I built him sort of a small studio and brought in all the synthesizers. And I would go to his house 5 days a week, 11 in the morning. He'd come, and that guy worked. Okay, like I worked with a lot of people, and they'll take like forever to get something done. Bert came in the morning every day, 11 a.m. How you doing? We'd start to work and with putting tracks together. At 1, we'd take a break. He'd send his maid up to the studios, and I'd order my lunch, and then we'd go back after lunch and work till about 4 or 5 in the afternoon. And I met a lot of people at Bert's, like Quincy Jones. That's the first time I met Quincy. And the funny thing is, one of the people I met there as well, he was living with, still married to Carol Bayer Sager at the time, right? It was Carol Bayer Sager and him, and they lived in Beverly Hills, and their neighbor was Elizabeth Taylor, right? So Liz used to come over sometimes and hang out in the late afternoons when Bert was writing with Carol and me, and we'd sit there, and so I met Elizabeth and hang out with Elizabeth Taylor.
Oh, hang out with the queen, huh?
Right, hang out
Right.
with the queen, right?
Yeah.
And so that's some of the first things, and I started doing a lot of programming. I'm going to get to this point real quick, which is going to be more interesting. Basically,
Let me ask you
after
something
working-
right quick, Ryan.
Go ahead.
Didn't Elizabeth marry Burt Reynolds for a short while?
No, Burt Bacharach.
He's not talking about Burt Reynolds. It's
Oh,
another Burt.
I thought he was talking about Burt Reynolds.
No, it's Burt Bacharach.
You came in late.
Yeah, it's all right.
I could still hear the show.
She was married. She was married.
You got
to
the
a
wrong
lot of
Burt.
people.
Yeah, she was married to Burt Reynolds for a short while.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah,
Not
Burt
Bacharach.
Reynolds was born on my birthday.
Was he?
What is your birthday?
Cheryl Crow and Jennifer Aniston.
When is your birthday?
February 11th.
February the 11th. Oh, wow. Okay. We'll have to remember that one.
Yeah.
I
Well,
met-
go ahead.
I met Bert on the Dinah Shore show. He was a guest. on the Dinah
Okay,
Shore.
Burt Reynolds. Okay.
But she was married or having an affair. She was with him. Burt Bacharach.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, not Burt Bacharach, but Burt Reynolds. Anyway, from Burt Bacharach, I worked for Burt for about a year. But I was also expanding. I was getting a lot of calls to do a lot of other records and so forth for a lot of other producers, like Lou Adler, Richard Perry. I started doing stuff for Quincy. And I was on a call. I got a call from Dan Aykroyd's people, from Saturday
Dan
Night Live.
Aykroyd. Yeah, I love
Blues
some Dan
Brothers.
Aykroyd. Yeah.
Right, Blues Brothers. So basically, I got a call from them to come work on a song for Dragnet, the movie he did where he was doing Dragnet. We used Joe Friday with Tom Hanks was the
I used to
guy.
watch Dragnet. Yeah.
Right. So they did a movie. Dan Aykroyd did a movie in '87 called Dragnet, and Tom Hanks was his co-star. And so basically, I did a couple of songs with them in the studio. And the studio we were working at was Tito Jackson's studio in up Havenhurst for Michael's studio. Okay. So I was in Tito's studio working with Dan, and it was a lot of fun working with Dan doing those songs. and a really great guy. Kind of made friends immediately with him. And he said, you know, in the future, let's do some work together. So we ended up doing some songs for his other movies. And it was at Tito Jackson's studio, and Tito came down, and the engineer said to him at the time, he goes, you got to meet this guy, this programmer guy. One, he knows all the stuff. And two, he's cool. Not like a lot of the programmers that come in who are like with the 12-inch glasses. And he goes, he's a musician, he plays. So that's where I met Tito Jackson, who said, well, you got to come work for me. And so after that, I got called up to Tito's house to work on, Tremaine Hawkins and his sister Reeby's album. And that's how I got introduced to Tito, which then I got introduced. I was asked to work on the Jacksons' 2300 Jackson Street. So as a programmer, we were doing most of the album at Tito's studio, even though we would do it at Jackie's studio as well. But we were doing the album together, and I was working on that album. And Tito and I used to go to Michael's house to go raid the candy store and watch movies and stuff, right? Because he's got the movie theater there. So we go grab some candy and watch a movie, eat barbecue with Cousin Tony, right? Okay, the funny thing is, do you know the song Billy? So anyway, I met Michael Jackson over there. I met the whole family, Mom, Dad, Janet. Janet was like 10 years old.
How about LaToya?
LaToya, yes, of course. I sat next to LaToya several times in the studio. I mean, while we were in the studio and when we'd watch movies together, right? So that's where I first met Michael at the house. And what happens in this world is, I guess, if you're cool enough and you know not to be a fan and be a crazy person around them, you become family because they know they can trust you.
Right.
So pretty soon, I'm like the guy he knows. They know they're not going to see anything that I saw in the National Enquirer.
Right.
They know I'm not going to ask weird questions or be weird or that what we see.
Right. You're frozen a bit.
Uh-oh.
Just
It'll come back.
You might have to come back in. That's what I had to do.
Yeah, just
What's
no.
back?
You can just move around like this. You're frozen.
Yeah, it'll come back.
If you move your body,
Yeah.
it'll
If
come
you
back.
can hear us, Dan, come back out and in.
So what we'll do is while he's frozen, and we'll take a break and come back and see if he's unfrozen. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and don't go away.
Keith
Our guest,
Tucker.
yes, hello, Keith. Thank you. So thank you for joining us. He'll be right back. Someone says, thanks for watching, Keith. That's right. And share the show, Keith. You know, you got a big fan base there. And he's, this is one of the big engineers, musicians, songwriter, and producers from the good old times, the 60s through the 90s. So you definitely want to come back and hear a little bit more of his lifetime. And we're going to try to get out of here in about 15 minutes, y'all. We're not going to hold you, okay? So we'll be back. Stick and stay, okay? We'll be back.
Welcome to the Shack 12 Week Shred. My name is Rock Shabazz, and I'm here to take you through the same program that I made for this guy right here.
This program is without a doubt a huge reason why I was able to get fit and stay fit. If you put in the work and stay consistent, you just might be able to keep up. It's time for you to get to work.
So, are you going to Amy's wedding?
I don't have the money.
Yeah, you do. Who are you? I'm you, from the future. And I just got paid.
And I'm Dave. I can get you up to $500 of your future money now.
Up to $500 instantly?
Instantly.
That's amazing. Oh, who's he? Oh, this is Paolo. We met at the reception. Hi. Hola. Hello. Paolo. That's me.
Download Dave and get up to $500 instantly.
A VPN is great for security and privacy.
By hiding your IP address and encrypting your traffic, it shields your data from snoopers and all kinds of cyber attacks. But its protection scope is limited. So, NordVPN is becoming more than just a VPN. We're introducing a brand new feature to the desktop apps, Threat Protection, and it's going to take your digital security to the next level. Once you enable it on your NordVPN app, Threat Protection will guard your device against malicious websites, malware, trackers, and intrusive ads, even if you're not connected to a VPN server at the time. That's right, when you switch it on, it'll stay on, regardless of your VPN connection. Let's take a look at how it can improve your cybersecurity. Online, one wrong turn can spell disaster for your private data, but not with Threat Protection. It blocks dangerous websites that might potentially host malware, even if you click on a dangerous link by accident. Next up, Malware Protection. If you accidentally download an infected file, it's not the end of your devices just yet. Threat Protection scans every file you download. If a file turns out to be infected, it gets deleted immediately before it can wreak havoc on your computer. Most websites you enter are stuffed with trackers that follow you from one page to another, creating a unique profile of who you are and what you like. Threat Protection blocks trackers, so you can surf the net with more privacy. Ever opened a web page only to be bombarded with intrusive ads and loud autoplay videos? Well, they're not only annoying, some of them can actually be a cyber threat. Threat Protection blocks the intrusive and malicious ads on the spot. So, how do you take your device security to the next level? Make sure you have the latest NordVPN app version on your computer. Then open it and click on the little shield. It's the Threat Protection icon. Toggle the switch on and enjoy ultimate security. You can also find Threat Protection Lite on your mobile apps, but it won't block trackers or malicious files on your phone just yet. Step up your cybersecurity and stay safe.
Back, and we're coming in slowly, but we're coming back in. Okay. And our guest is back as well, so all of us are back.
Hey, sorry about that.
No, that's no problem. You just got frozen there. Who's lost? So Tim, there he is. Okay, there we got the two men together. That's good. Good deal. All right.
It figures the computer guy would have the problems, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, these computers do what they want to do. Doesn't matter who's operating them.
It goes black. I'm like, what the heck's going on?
Don't worry.
All right, so anyway, guys want me to continue from where I was, or?
Well, let's get some of these questions in. Okay, let's see. Where is it? Do you have any recording projects in the works?
Yes, the new Start album. I'm working on it right now as we speak.
Okay.
It should be out in a few months.
Sounds good.
The last big professional recording I did was for an album for a French artist called Michel Polnareff, and he's like Elton John of France.
Oh yeah, Polnareff.
Polnareff. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you spell that?
He's a French guy.
P-O-L-N-Y.
P-O-L-N. Well, no, it's P-O-L-N-E-F-F. P-O-L-N-A-E-F-F. Polnareff.
Thank you.
Anyway, so he's a big guy, and right now he's getting ready to do a series of tours in France. His last tours, he sold out like 1 million people at the Eiffel Tower. But basically, I worked with him. I was hired by Universal to do what I've done for a very long time, which I was just getting into, which was programming and engineering. I got called in. When I got known, after I got known I was working with Tito and the family, which I was going to tell you a really funny story. If you guys have ever heard the song Billie Jean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not my lover. Yeah.
Right. Which, you know what? I knew it was before. While I was there, this is pre-internet. I'm like, great, it's a song about a girl, right? No big deal. We're sitting in the kitchens at Michael Jackson's house, which is the outside kitchens, which are by the studio and the garage. It's a big for the family type, barbecue kitchen with indoor barbecues and stuff, built into the thing. So we're sitting there with cousin Tony, who's the master Jackson barbecuist, making some of his famous ribs. And, we hear he's in there. So Tito and I go walking in, and I'm sitting there, and then Tito goes, I got to run into the house, right? So he runs into the house, and this girl comes walking in and sits down at the big, it's like this big, like a restaurant almost thing. And she sits down at the end where the barbecue is. And she sat there very quietly, very politely. And I'm just like, hi, how are you? And Tony's looking at her, hi, So we're sitting there for a minute. We don't really talk.
Okay, he's frozen again. Just as he's getting to the, just as he was getting to the good part.
Well, that's okay. I'll call him back. But in the meantime, he was involved with comedy. So he worked with Eddie Murphy. So we'll get him back on, talk about that.
Yeah, well, we're going to get ready to end the show. We try to get out of here about 8 or 8:12 anyway. So what we'll do is we can just book him to come on again, and he can just pick right up where he left off, because the audience really enjoys them. I enjoy him.
He's an amazing guest.
Yeah. So
okay, he's listening to his phone.
He's doing what? He's
listening to switching to his phone. His phone.
To you, with you. Okay.
His telephone.
With you.
The phone. He's going to the phone.
I can't hear him.
He's switching.
He hasn't switched yet. He's coming in by way of his cell phone.
I don't know how it's going to do that.
It'll work. It worked last time.
Oh, just on audio. Yeah. Okay. So
both. It'll be both. Yeah.
Oh, you mean he's using his cell phone instead?
Yeah.
I got you. I thought you meant he was calling in, dialing in. I was like,
that's what I thought too.
Yeah. Okay. So, we can get about that.
Well, I can talk to you about what he does. I just had to put my glasses.
So, what are you going to be doing for him? Let us know about that.
Well, I'm working with Wolf Entertainment. And Wolf signed one of his songs called Lemmings. And that's from his Spark rock group.
It's called Money?
It's called Lemmings. LEMMINGS.
Oh, okay.
What does it mean?
Oh, limits.
I'm not sure what it means.
Like the outer limits. Okay. Yeah.
But anyway, he's working with male pop, Carl King, all kinds of people. Let's see. Janet Jackson, Michael Jackson, Lionel Richie, Sheryl Crow.
Well, he's worked for everybody.
Yeah, he has a type of career where you have to do 2 shows on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can't cover him all in one night.
No.
Yeah,
Millie Vanilla.
Mm-hmm.
He's worked with, I don't know, but a lot of
Yeah, indeed.
A lot of
Well,
celebrities.
he might be so busy. I'm surprised that we were able to get him in this time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
well, he did it as a courtesy because I told him you guys were from Memphis, and he said right on because he worked. His grandfather or father worked with Elvis. So
okay. Well, it's just hard for us to find out everything tonight, but we have enjoyed so much that we've heard.
Yeah.
So you could tell him that we'll have him back again because he hasn't popped in there yet. And sometimes it can just, I don't know what his phone would have him to do. His phone might tell him to download something. We don't want him to have to go through all of that. We'll just have him back and at his convenience. How about that?
That sounds great.
Okay.
But in the meantime, you can reach him at Rand Ballard, RANBALLARD @.com.
No, it will be .com, not @.com, right?
No, just .com.
Yeah, okay, so I'm going to
That's
put
his
that up there.
website.
Yeah, I just put it in here and I'm going to show it on the screen. Meanwhile, that's showing on the screen. Tim,
Yes.
your closing remarks.
Great show. A lot of history. I can't wait to pick up on part 2.
Yeah, especially the way he left us off in the middle of that story. Right?
I want to know what happened to that woman when she come out of the kitchen.
We do. That'll be a great segue. You can just come on in and talk about that.
That's a cliffhanger.
Yeah, I mean, that's just part 1. I can only imagine what part 2 is going to be like. So I'm going to hold on to my seat for that. But with that, I just wish everybody love, peace, and happiness, and let's be safe out there.
I agree. Sybil, your closing comments.
Well, this was an amazing show. And Cathy, you're outdoing yourself being our entertainment correspondent. I mean, you got us right up there with the cream of the crop celebrities.
She does, doesn't she?
She's shining.
You're doing a wonderful job. I can't wait to see
she has
who else
a lot to bring, a lot to offer, So
you have really rounded out everything. So that's what I got to say.
Yeah.
Thank you. But
we're so happy to have you.
These celebrities really outdo me. I mean, I don't even know what they're up to.
You don't know what they're up to till they come on the show. Yeah.
I mean, it's God's blessing, really.
Yeah, that's true. That's you never know who all people have worked with and who all know them and who they know.
Right.
And that's why we like to have people on the show to just lay back and let's just talk about it, Yeah, and to find out things and make new friends.
Yeah.
That's what I love about my shows, Cathy.
Yeah.
I've made so many friends.
He was an amazing guest.
New friends, Yeah.
Yes.
Well, he was talking about comedy and how many guests were at his personal residence. Not just Eddie Murphy, but everybody. I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah.
But I don't remember though.
Oh, I know. We'll pick it back up. Sybil, your closing comments.
Well, that was pretty much it. Just a wonderful show.
We got you.
And he was such an amazing guest. You couldn't even. He just had so much to spill out. Every one of us was quiet as a mouse and couldn't even say anything because he just kept unloading more information. He was spectacular.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All right, Cathy, and to you, your comments.
Well, all I can say is it's blessings from heaven above. So for all of us,
yes,
to be able to resonate this frequency. So I love you all, and I love Rand Ballard, and everything that we do is for you.
It's for you. That's right, Cathy. You got that. Yay. Let's get
Emily, we have Memphis style wings and things tuned in.
Yeah, hi Jen. That's Jeanette
Hi, Janet.
from Houston, Texas. So let's give a round of applause to our guests, our audience, our team, us, everybody. Okay, let's give a round of applause. So we really had a great show, and everybody really enjoyed him. And they're gonna come back again. Thank you all so much for your staying with us, and we'll be back Tuesday night with the 901 show. So where do we go from the 901 show? So meanwhile, till we get there, to all of my pearls in the listening audience tonight, a pearl is defined as a precious thing. It is the finest example of something special. So it doesn't matter whether you are rich or poor, you, my pearls, are a precious thing. You are the finest example of someone special. All right. And as we say around here in the Emily Pearl studio, listen, don't hate them, congratulate them. And if you deem it and mean it, I promise you, my pearls, everything good that you do will what team?
Come back to
Back to
you.
you.
Hallelujah.
That's our time. Everybody say good
All
night.
right.
Right.
Hi.
Good night.